Hello and welcome to a special edition of Soccer to the Max. Finally, we are back, and my goodness, it's almost within everyone's grasp, within barely able to touch it. Eric, as the United States men's national team are able to equal their feat from almost 6 years ago, 5 years ago, where they blew out Panama once again in the final home game in Orlando again. Rachel Krieger was there, and unfortunately I couldn't get her to come on to be on here, but it's still crazy that we're almost there, and thankfully nowhere near the having to deal with the oh my god, what if of Trinidad and Tobago. Obviously, going to a different place that you've never won before, but you don't need to win. You don't need to win. You just need to make sure you don't let in 6 goals or more. And even then, you still get to go to the playoff. It's not like you're completely out.
Exactly. The ultimate worst case scenario, a 6-0, a 7-1, and then we're playing most likely New Zealand. But even if it's a close like 1-0, 2-0 defeat, because Costa Rica is really going to be gunning, we'll have our tickets to Qatar. So it's mathematically there's still that, but it's a tiny chance.
Right, and it's not a home and home thing. It's they're going to play the one game in Qatar and that's it. So nobody's getting a home field advantage either. It's just really, I guess New Zealand gets the shorter trip if you're gonna say anything, maybe. But or it could be the Solomon Islands, right? We're not sure yet, but we'll know by the time we get to the end of this window. In fact, on Friday is the actual World Cup draw, so you will know where the teams will be grouped, who's playing in what group, aside from some of the teams that are left. Scotland, Ukraine, that have not been able to play, obviously because of the what is happening, over in Ukraine right now, the war in Ukraine. So, and of course, still got to go to that playoff. You're still going to have to go to the intercontinental playoff of. Will it be Australia? Will it be another team that winds up playing the 5th place, South American team? Whichever team that could be. It could be between 3 different teams right now. Peru, which seems the most likely, Colombia, or possibly an outside chance of Chile, but they have to have a lot of help on that one. So we'll go through, go around CONCACAF as well. Talk about Canada's finally being able to qualify. It's the first time since 1986, my birth year, Canada has not been in a World Cup. Yeah, so in our entire lifetimes, we have not been able to see Canada outside of watching highlights of or watching old documentaries or whatever of Canada in Mexico playing in that World Cup. So what a moment for them. Obviously going over Costa Rica's big win that basically got them to this moment of now that game against the United States basically just decides, are we going to go play that playoff, or are we going to go through automatically? And then, of course, Mexico grinding out another tough one against an Honduras squad that, even though they were depleted, still fought as hard as they possibly could. We'll go through all that, but we need to start, obviously, with what's present, what matters here when we talk about the U.S. men's national team, the 5-1 thrashing of Panama. And Christian Pulisic gets a hat trick, 2 penalties, and then one heck of a goal that we'll talk about. And then it's weird to say, FC Dallas duo of Jesus Ferreira and Paul Arriola getting the 2 other goals on this night. So let's go through some of what happened here, Eric. I'm sure everybody's watched highlights if you didn't watch the game. But let's talk about this. It didn't take very long. It really started around the 10th minute, and then this kind of dragged on as when you get these kind of decisions, they do drag on. But in the 10th minute, It was Pulisic going into the box. He got the shot blocked. Arriola gets fouled. There's a free kick. Then you get it gets deflected over, turns into a corner kick. Miles Robinson gets his head to it. Ferreira has a shot that goes in the side netting. That second corner is where you see Anibal Godoy, which is funny because these two are teammates in Nashville. Anibal Godoy and Walker Zimmerman having a tussle there, which I'm sure they're used to doing in practice. Having a tussle for the ball there, and he grabs his neck. Like, let's not forget that part. We could talk about Navio Zimmerman embellished it a little bit or whatever, but he grabbed his neck. He pushed him down. The ball actually goes off his arm as well. So there's like 3 different penalty shots there, Eric. But at first there wasn't the clear penalty given. There's kind of a check, and then all of a sudden they do get the penalty. It looks like it's going to be Ferreira that's going to go and shoot it, but he kind of holds the ball, and the Pulisic's the one that puts it away very cleanly, and you get your first goal. And then not too long after that, 6 minutes after that, you get a wonderful move by Pulisic to kind of take his defender in. He turns around. They play advantage. Robinson with the cross and Arriola with a wonderful header that goes to the other side. And then 4 minutes after that, you get a great counterattack with Luca to Shaq Moore to Arriola to Jesus Ferreira for the goal as they drew it up. And within less than 30 minutes, Eric, you get 3 goals. I mean, you couldn't have drawn it up any better than that.
Not at all. And I mean, you're looking at the comparison of this game versus Panama at the Azteca. I don't know if it's just because it was home soil, because of the incredible crowd, but because of the meaning. This was an entirely different team. Their mission was like, okay, we want to get this done early. We don't care about the other results necessarily today. Get this out of the way. Help our goal difference as best we can to avoid any kind of issues going to San Jose, and they just got it done. As you would have mentioned with those goals, done and dusted within a half hour, and you're like, where was this team? Where had this been hiding? Because with the way that Panama was set up, they were right in that top 5 fight that we had been talking about this entire time. Right. And it's like, okay, they lose. They're necessarily maybe not entirely out of it for a little while, but then as you see the other results, it's like, okay, they lose, they're pretty much toast. And the U.S. was just like, we're going to go ahead on the front foot. We're going to use our speed, play the style that Berhalter's had, that 4-3-3, emphasizing all the wings, play to perfection today.
Yeah, very interesting that the first set of fixtures were kind of all played like grouped around together. Whereas this one was very much set up to, you're going to know the results of the first 2 games before we even play the second 2 games. So Panama and the U.S. both knew, and so did Mexico also in their game against Honduras, both knew this. They all 3 of them knew the stakes before they started playing. They knew what the results were. They knew what they needed to see where they're going to be at in that third game. They were maybe hoping, and we'll get to it, they got really close to getting exactly what they wanted out of the first result. We'll get there to possibly qualify directly from this game. They just weren't able to do that, but they did play themselves into a good position. I will say, had Christopher Pulisic buried that chance in Mexico, it would have been around about 5 minutes later in the 35th minute. And maybe that's a totally different game for the U.S. You know,
absolutely,
we are seeing the advantage of being able to actually finish your chances, which that's the thing. They had 2 clear-cut chances in Mexico. Both of them, they did not finish. And Pulisic, different. He made sure he finished them this time. Obviously, it helps a lot when you get a penalty early. You get on the score sheet early, and it gives you confidence. And then immediately you're putting Panama, who already is in a big mountain to climb, knowing, oh, we don't just have to draw here. We pretty much have to win here to have an opportunity at all of qualifying. And then not only that, we have to get basically a win against Canada, which, to be fair, they'd be already qualified, may not care, but it's still Canada. Like, they're not going to want to just drop some points like that. So they already feel a lot of pressure, right? They're coming into Orlando where they have, the last time they faced each other, as we said, 4-0. It's not, you're not going to Panama where they did get that surprising win. So you get that goal early, albeit, Anibal Godoy can say what he wants about, oh, maybe it was a penalty. But again, it's like 3 different shouts for that one. And then you get those 2 goals in quick succession, and it's just like such a difference from how confident you could be. And it also lessens the sloppiness that you saw in this game, which you saw a lot of that. In the beginning, in the first 5 minutes, it was Panama going at them. There was chances being missed right after the first goal. You had that terrible giveaway by Anthony Robinson that almost cost them. If Panama had any kind of and that's not to say they don't. We've seen Blackburn, we've seen Gondola, we've seen Quintero go in there and they do score. We've seen them do that. But the U.S. kind of gets some luck as well, to where they just had things go their way. And really, for Zach Steffen, he should have been scored on earlier, because he did not have a good game. He didn't look confident. He had 2 chances that he was going after the ball, and the ball just kind of left his hands. He had the one that later on that they're coming in, and he got lucky. The ball went right to his hands, after a really soft shot. It just, he did not see himself.
No, and especially as you mentioned that first chance, it was just a mad scramble. You had about 4 or 5 U.S. defenders in the box, and I'm thinking Panama can be right there to pounce. Everything was all 6s and 7s, and they did it. And it's like, okay, well, maybe that first chance is they try to get it, but they didn't clear until 2, 3 opportunities away. And I'm thinking to myself, maybe was this, I don't know if it's necessarily rust with Steffen, as you said, maybe confidence issue, something going on, but he took a while even to remotely get to where he was. And even at his best in that game, you're right, he wasn't anywhere near comfortable. So something to kind of maybe have in the back of your mind.
Yeah, he had a much better game against Mexico, but I would definitely say also that Mexico just didn't. There was never any moments where they felt threatening. Whereas in this game, it did feel like Panama were a little bit threatening, but also they had some bad giveaways. The one in the 41st minute where Godoy takes a shot that goes wide and Steffen has to dive. It just didn't. You felt like if something was going to happen, it was going to happen because Anthony Robinson's giving it away. Somebody's giving it away. And then Panama gets a goal that kind of puts them back in it. And the U.S. got lucky that really before that could happen, they got another penalty before the end of the half. This one, maybe there's a little bit more to give to Anibal Godoy here. Unfortunately for him, he's involved in both these penalties, and you could really say that he should have gotten a card for the first penalty.
Right, and he did eventually get a yellow for the second one.
He did not. Had he got a second yellow for the second one, we're talking about a completely different game because then they're playing with 10 men. So who knows if the U.S. would have scored more. I mean, honestly, the U.S. should have scored more.
Oh, yeah.
They should have scored more. There was many opportunities they had to score here. But, again, a free kick, Pulisic's foul. Godoy went up to head the ball. He uses his arm and puts it in Miles Robinson's face. He wasn't looking for the ball, but this is one of those times where you use your arm as leverage, right, to head the ball. I don't know that one was necessarily so much like the Walker Zimmerman one that was definitely a penalty. I mean, he had him by the throat. He pushed him down. This was more like Miles Robinson knew that arm was coming, and he just was like, all right, I'm going to go down here. And, he sold it.
Yeah,
And the referee ate it. So
in slow motion, real speed, you can definitely see this either way. It wasn't so slow motion. You could say Anthony Robinson kind of had his head conveniently in the way of that elbow as their arms were interlocked there, as you mentioned, for leverage. But it's like, okay, well, if this is going to happen, my head's going to be right here. I'm going to go down. So you can't quite say embellishment because a little bit happened, but on the night of the Oscars, definitely a little bit of a nomination, for supporting actor on that one. I'll give that to him.
Yeah, I mean, the better part, obviously, is Pulisic scoring another penalty goal. So he has 2 goals at that point. And, this is now 4-0. They have now equaled what they did in Orlando many years ago. U.S. flying high here. You go into halftime up 4-0. My goodness. I mean, you really couldn't ask for anything better. And, I mean, before you get to that point, I thought this scrum that almost happened, where Pulisic gets hit by, I think it's Murillo, and then Murillo kind of hits it back, and then he gets hit with the ball, and he kind of goes after him a little bit, and it's like, that's what you want to see, that fire from the captain. You want to see that.
He's adjusting his armband afterward, and it's like, hey, you're not going to do this to me. You're not going to do this to any of my guys. Come on. I'm seeing that, and I'm like, all right, I see you, Christian. I'm liking this. That's what you need to really galvanize.
Exactly. I think that got them kind of like even more pumped up. Obviously, the second half, you're going to kind of play it a little bit. You're going to let Panama have more of the ball, which they really just let Panama have more of the ball, period. There was a big discrepancy of possession there, which normally, you don't think you would see from the U.S. men's national team, because we know how much Berhalter preaches about possession and all that. I mean, there was even a higher pass accuracy for Panama. I mean, just when you're looking at it, almost all the stats really, if you're just looking at like a box score, aside from the goals and just obviously the shots, because the U.S. scored goals, go in Panama's favor a little bit. But really, this was, I think it helps when you score a lot, you score quickly. It can help diminish some of the a little bit negative things, like Zach Steffen not being himself, some of the defensive giveaways, some of the sloppiness at times. Panama having more opportunities in that second half where you're already up some, and then also kind of just giving chances away, right? Like Ferreira had that one that got laid off to him, and then he shoots it over the goal. It's like, dude, come on, it's just
some of those. It's especially when you're that close, you got to bury them.
Yeah, I mean, but speaking of bury him, if you got to have one last goal, what a moment for Pulisic here! Like, just getting the ball in, doing a turn. He gets a little bit of a lucky bounce and then goes through a player and then just hits it in the net. What a way to get a hat trick. What a moment for him. Like, all that pressure, you could feel it release a little bit. One of the few guys that's still around, along with Arriola and I think like 2 or 3 others that were actually there in 2017 to witness that moment of not making it to the World Cup, and that has stayed with him all this time. And he punctuates that moment of saying, man, we're putting that goal difference up. We're scoring here. We're making a statement, and we're going to make it hard for Costa Rica. Obviously, Panama pulls one back at the end with a free kick. I think that's the way it had to be. And what a turn of fate, really. Godoy, the one that causes both penalties, is the one that scores the header. Of course, it's funny because he's the one that also scored the goal, the lone goal in the game in Panama as well. So interesting kind of, again, turn of fate there for him. But really, it was just a consolation goal for a Panama team that was so close, but just couldn't make it this time. Costa Rica getting hot at the right time, and they were able to win all those games. Like we said, Costa Rica gets a winning streak. They're able to do it, and they did it, and now they put themselves in position. But, I mean, I think this is great. It's great to feel like no matter what happens, you're not completely out. Obviously, I don't want to say you can pretty much count on it that you're qualified because you never know.
Exactly.
But it's really a formality. But honestly, it's just nice to feel like you're going to the last game, and it's like, considering I have a friend who is Peruvian, and even though Paraguay are completely eliminated, they went out and they beat Ecuador. I mean, yes, Peru at home, you should win.
Of course.
You should get that draw. Or not, you should get that win, even if it's 1-0, whatever. But nothing is guaranteed, even at home. You don't know what kind of Paraguay team is going to show up. So, again, until it's done, it's not done. So,
yeah, play the 90 minutes, put in a great effort. Does it have to be a winning effort? No. But go in and at least say, hey, we're going to leave it out there and we're going to make sure the job is done. If it's a 1-0, 2-0 loss, so be it. But we know when the final whistle blows around 11 o'clock just after, it's like, all right, we're going to Qatar.
Yeah,
a chance.
I think what this game really proved to me is that they tried to do the historic thing in Mexico, and being the first team to win a World Cup qualifier there. They just weren't able to do it. Again, they had those chances, couldn't convert them. I feel like after this game and the way some of these players played that, we could talk about here, I feel like this could be that time. Even if it's 1-0 or whatever, like this could be that time to finally get that win in San Jose and go down there and upset Costa Rica, who again, they know they're going to the playoff. So it's not like it's the end of the world that they don't win. But obviously, you want to know that you're qualified, but considering who you're playing, even though you're not Mexico, you're Costa Rica, you should still be able to defeat a New Zealand or Solomon Islands. So,
of course.
I just feel like this is a team, even if, say, some of the players that we saw today don't play and you play some other players, considering it feels like, we don't know what's going to happen with Jesus Ferreira. We don't know if Shaq Moore is going to be fit. Both of them kind of pulled up limp at the end of the game there. Jesus Ferreira had to play, I think, the last 15 or 20 minutes with cramp and not feeling well. Once again, sometimes I wonder why Berhalter does not hold one change in his pocket for stuff like that, considering, that stuff can happen. It's happened to him a few times already. But even then, I think for me, one guy is making it very difficult not to play him, and especially with Weston McKennie not around for a while, Luca De La Torre is really setting himself up to.
And I was thinking,
how can you not pick him?
Name. Yeah, exactly. I was thinking the same thing with De La Torre. I was like, it's not even so much that he came out of nowhere, but it's just you almost imagine like McKennie was out there. Such an excellent transition, the flow. You saw that connectedness that we often see that was lacking between the defense and going forward into attack.
Exactly.
He was just right there. And I'm like, this is the kind of thing you're going to need against Los Ticos. Keep him.
No, and I want to see that. I want to see what he does when he's in a different kind of environment, right? Because the two games he's played are in the United States.
Yep.
Right? Let's see what happens when you're in a more different kind of, the grass isn't as pretty. The fans are right on top of you. You got, this is a big moment for Costa Rica to be able to see what they can do and give themselves a chance to get that, automatic qualification. Can Luca De La Torre still perform in that same way in a different environment away from home? But like you said, it's not just the connectivity, which is wonderful. I think that's great because it helps. He's on the same side as Pulisic.
Yep.
I think it made it to where Pulisic felt comfortable to be able to go forward instead of having to come back for the ball. He knew Luca Del Torre was going to be there to get the in-between, and he was just playing passes right and left. He played in Shaq Moore so many times. He played in Anthony Robinson. He played it to Pulisic. He was wonderful at going back and making those key defensive plays that you want your midfielder to do. Very much almost like sometimes like a tandem 6 with Tyler Adams, of being able to be like, oh, Tyler Adams wasn't able to get there. Luca Del Torre does get there to make that play. So that's somebody that if you know you're not going to have Weston McKennie for a while until closer to the World Cup, he makes it super difficult for you not to play him. And I think, even though Yunus Musa is great, I really like him. I think sometimes maybe you need to think about, is Luca Del Torre that guy you need to play opposite of McKennie and Adams and that third midfield spot? Or, do you play like, as much as I care about I like Acosta and what he gives you on the set pieces, man, what he can do is just, and he's so smooth too. It's not clunky. It's, man, he just glides on the field. I mean, wow, it's another level. It's another level.
It really is strolling along, and you don't have to worry about any issues with decision making when he has the ball. It's like, all right, I'm getting it, making the run. I'm gonna make this outlet pass. I'm in the center here. Okay, we've got an advantage. We'll play over there. It's just everything clicks. And honestly, if I get more of that in open play, I can adjust my free kicks in different set pieces. If I can get that kind of control on open play, especially as you're getting to a World Cup, give me that instead. Any day of the week.
I mean, I still think we're a little bit lacking on the actual set piece delivery. When Acosta's not in there, I still feel like Pulisic is not always hitting it past that first man every time. He got a little bit lucky, I think, in that U.S. was able to get those second chances, and then those created what they created a few times. I mean, obviously, aside from the Arriola goal, which he kind of created himself. But that being said, I thought as well, I mean, it was nice to see number 9 play from somebody. I mean, look, Pepe, I thought was fine against Mexico, but you could tell the difference between somebody that is confident and someone that's not. Pepe is not playing well, barely getting games in Augsburg. When he does it, he doesn't get the service because of the way that team plays. Jesus Ferreira's on it, dude. He just scored a hat trick against Portland. Arriola also scored in that game. First goal for FC Dallas. I mean, it's like and then playing with your teammate. Those two are playing on the same team. There's that connectivity there, and just I felt like he's always played well with Pulisic as well. So I think he works up front. He's just he's great when he has it. All he has to do is slide it in.
Yep.
When he has to kind of create a little bit for himself and take that shot, that's when we've seen him mess up. He had it in the other game that he played in where Pulisic kind of laid him off one and he shot that over as well. So he's got to get a little bit better at the finishing. He's great at creating, great at making those runs, which I think you need to see your number 9 make. Out of the 3 that we've seen, Peacock didn't get too much, but out of the 3 that we've seen, Ferreira has been the best of the 3.
Yeah, and I really think until Pepe gets a better, even some of those same qualities in creating chances himself in Augsburg, I think, or somehow organized to keep that competition between Ferreira and Pfalk going, so then you can really settle on, okay, this is going to be my guy come Qatar. Because you've got it now narrowed down to 2 thankfully. It's just how can you work between those two?
Well, I mean, you're definitely going to have some backups and everything.
Oh yeah,
I think
you're gonna have the backups, but I mean, as like the main guy, and then naturally someone coming off the bench, someone in a different style. If you're qualifying, you get into a group game against a different opponent. I get that, but it's like, okay, who's gonna be A? Who's gonna be B? You have both, but one or the other in key moments, basically.
that's very true. I think it's also just this is a different World Cup, right? Like we're not just kind of playing out the rest of the spring and then getting to June. This is we got to play a whole summer of friendlies or whatever little tournaments you're gonna have here or whatever. And then you got to play half a season, or a whole season if you're MLS, or half a season if you're Europe. Who's going to be in form at that time? It's going to be very interesting. Hopefully, you're not talking about a bunch of injuries as well, because that changes the whole complexion of your team. And a lot of things still have to be decided when you get there. But I think for me as well, I think you kind of know that wonderful stat that keeps popping up about when Miles Robinson and Walker Zimmerman played together. They are undefeated, and what they've allowed now 2 goals only. I mean, that's an incredible mark. Obviously, again, you're only playing CONCACAF competition, but you can only play the ones that are in front of you, and that's a tremendous feat for you to be able to do with 2 MLS center backs. Let's be honest. You could say what you want, John Brooks, whoever else you want to should be sitting there. Definitely not Aaron Long. At least he's not ready right now. And obviously Anthony Robinson, we've said this a bunch of times, but there's nobody's going to take that left back position away from him. That's his. He keeps earning that every single game. He did it again today. Look, he's going to have those bad moments. Every game he's going to have one bad giveaway, one bad pass. That's just him. And you forget that all these players are young. But what he gives you consistently going forward and the crosses he can give you, there's nobody else that plays on the left side that does
that. Not at all. And that's really one comforting thing, because you're talking about really an anchor position in your defense for a lot of teams that, like the U.S., love to play along that right-hand side.
And for your attack as well.
Exactly. Going ahead and being able to move it forward when you can. So that's one major thing not to have to worry about. Is comfortable. You can get the others settled into place.
Right. I mean, and definitely Sergio Dest is your guy on the right when he's healthy and when he's fit and when he's playing. But Shaq Moore, I thought, put in a good shift.
He really held his own.
He definitely, I mean, he'd been playing 90 minutes the last couple of games, but before then, I think there was a stat of like for 2 months, he'd only played 34 minutes for his club team. So to go from that to what you saw against Panama, I thought that was really, really well done for him. He was very important on that right side, made some key passes, and I mean, maybe defensively a little bit of an issue there, but I thought Anthony Robinson was a little bit lacking on that front too. They were definitely getting through on the wings a little bit. Again, it's just Panama doesn't have the finishers that you're used to seeing, and I think once you go down 3-0 so quickly, it doesn't matter if you would have had Blas Perez out there in his prime. That's always going to be a difficult task,
Yeah,
so,
you can try to claw back, make it respectable, but when you're playing like that for 60 minutes, at that point down 3-0, you're done. You're cooked.
So let's look ahead to this third game here before we go back and look at CONCACAF. Is there anybody? Obviously, you're not going to go and make 11 changes because you run into that problem that we've seen Berhalter run into before, right? Where there's too much lack of cohesion. And you do have the chance of allowing like 3 goals quickly, right? Of your front players can't connect with the midfield players, so you're losing the ball a lot, and you're putting too much pressure on your back line to keep making these saves. And even if I think I would really hope after these 2 games, start Ethan Horvath at goalkeeper.
Absolutely.
Give him a run, see what he can do. He's been playing pretty decently for Nottingham Forest. And then your back line, I think you're gonna change a little bit, right? You're probably definitely gonna put Yedlin back in for the experience. But I don't think you can't change all of them.
No.
You know,
I mean, outside of Horvath and Yedlin, you'll probably, especially depending on how bad everything is with Shaq Moore, maybe kind of make that change as well. But outside of those two, only changes necessary potentially for injuries. That's it. And then from that, make sure that you have, at the very least, if they're not able to start, have them come on second half, 60th minute, get them 30 minutes, making sure they're okay, kind of solidify whatever result is at that time, and then go ahead and you're done and dusted.
I mean, you can also play Eric Palmer Brown as well. If you want to give him a little bit of a run, he can play right back. We could play center back there with Walker Zimmerman. I think you definitely don't take Zimmerman out. He's a guy that is super important. He organizes that entire back line. I don't think you can move him. I mean, I'd like to see Anthony Robinson play, but I think also you got to think about, forward from here. Does he need to play at least from the start? And I definitely want to see Luca Del Torre again. I think you do. If you did all this to make sure Tyler Adams didn't get that second yellow, I think you got to play him.
Of course.
And then the other side, you can kind of, do you want to play Gio there and then change your front 3? Do you want to, kind of perhaps look at someone else that hasn't necessarily played yet for your team per se? Looking at it here, who we haven't seen yet for the national team. Do you want to play a Busio from the start? I mean, that's kind of it. I don't think you need to try to shoehorn James Sands. We might see him since he's a Berhalter favorite. Christian Roldan there. I could maybe see that. But,
I don't even know. Maybe Roldan off the bench. But for some of those, and I don't know, I would lean more towards Gio, especially if you know that you're trying to lock up a front 3 spot for him and try to see that in action. That would be my preference.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope that I would almost keep the front 3 the same, or if Ferreira's not feeling it, then I'd let PFUC start. And that's where you put Gio and Pulisic together. Let's see what they can do together with PFUC and see what happens there. That would be an interesting one for sure. Perhaps maybe if you do have to make a change, maybe George Bello for Anthony Robinson. I just worry because every time Bello's played for the national team, it's not been very good. So even though, again, props to him for making that move to Europe. That's a big move for him there.
Oh, yeah, great. And you're at the point, I wouldn't even say break glass in case of emergency, but it's like borderline, okay, we know we kind of have this in the bag. 20 minutes-ish, see out there what you changed and what you learned, fine. But any longer than that, you start running into problems.
Right, but you also just don't want to be disrespectful to the opponent. Being away from home and trying to get too cute, and then you never know, man. You're down 2-0 and say in the first 20, 30 minutes, and then, oh my God, here we go. That confidence starts unraveling. You don't know if it winds up like what happened in this game where it's, oh my God, it's 3-0 at halftime. And you're looking at that gap and be like, oh, whoopsie, do we really want to go down this road again? You don't want to put yourself in that position. So it's hopefully Berhalter doesn't try to get cute with rotation a little bit. Just, play some of the players maybe if you want to, but also don't mess up the flow of the team to try to get everybody rest and be like, well, like you said, break glass in case of emergency. I'll just put in 3 really quick and it'll change everything. Like, no, you got to have, as we say in Spanish, contundencia of what you're doing. You got to have, there's a camaraderie, there's a flow, there's a rhythm that you cannot lose because this game still matters.
It does.
In a way. It still matters. Even though it looks like a foregone conclusion, it's not. You have not played that game yet. So
no.
That being said, the last thing we have to do here, again, great win, fills you with confidence. We're ready for Tuesday, ready to just finally breathe that sigh of relief and know it is there. And you come Friday and you're excited to see who you're going to play and not, oh my God, we got to wait for this playoff again. And that whole nervousness starts to creep in again. You don't want that. Let's get it done. No. Let's get it over with. But let's see how the other teams got this through. And Canada have qualified. Again, Canada, the brothers to the north, the brothers and sisters to the north have made it for the first time since 1986. Well, I wasn't even born yet. I was born later that year in November. Eric, were you?
I was born during that tournament.
During
that tournament.
Okay, so I'm sure many people that watch later or listen to probably be like, "Oh my God." Either y'all are still too young, or oh my God, y'all are too old. What is wrong with you? So we're like right there in that middle of like we're not that old yet, but we're also not, in our 20s either. So
we're starting to get there.
Yeah, starting to get there. So Canada, of course, playing a depleted Jamaica. This is not the Jamaica that had been in when they were actually had a chance with the Mikel Antonios and Leon Baileys. This is very much a B team, C team squad. It didn't take very long. Very much just like the U.S. game. Canada was going for it from the beginning. They had this game really. When you look at all the games that happened, if you want to talk about a game that should have been like 8-0, 9-10, Canada missed so many chances in this game. It's incredible. Kyle Lair and Jonathan David between them missed so many. Buchanan missed so many chances. No Alphonso Davies again, but they really didn't need him here. 12th minute, Kyle Lair gets the first goal, and then off a great little pass from a great through ball from Mustachio. It was wonderful to see. You had a bunch of misses from Kyle Lair. Buchanan had almost 2 in a row. Then you finally you had one from Adekube to I think Jonathan to Kyle Lair that he missed, and then finally you had a great cross from David, who had gone to the other end of the box to chase it down, and then crosses it over to Buchanan. A little bit of deflection, but he is able to get it in, and that kind of ends the first half, just 2-0, but still enough to give you confidence, knowing that you took care of business already. And then Junior Hoylett gets a goal. Eric, wow. I mean, talk about going back to all it was up to Zativa Hutchinson needs to get a goal, and then we're going back to the old days for Canada. And then, basically it wouldn't be a Jamaica game at this point without Jamaica getting an own goal. And that was the 89th minute own goal there for Jamaica to make it a 4-0 big win for Canada. Big moment to win in your country and be able to say you have made it to the World Cup and be the first qualified team in a CONCACAF. What an amazing moment for this Canadian team, Eric.
Yeah, just an amazing moment for the team, an amazing moment for the country. And thinking about this, not just they're the first qualified team, not just they have a great chance to finish top of the octagonal.
Well, they are going to be top of the octagonal. I mean,
Well, I mean,
U.S.
goal
is not going to
difference,
score. Well, U.S. has to score like 5 goals.
something like that, because I know the difference was like +3, +4,
It's
something
like
on that.
they have 17 and the U.S. has 13 right now.
Yeah, so basically
Yeah, they
they
have to
have to.
score 5 goals, I think.
Yeah, they would have to lose. So, but with all of that, to qualify through the octagonal with just one loss, how many people saw that coming?
Nobody.
I didn't.
Yeah. And to play with many of those games without your best player in Alphonso Davies as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, yeah, you took it to the United States, you took it to Mexico in their house. So I mean, what a big moment for Canada to be able to say, look, this was not a fluke. We didn't just go beat all the minnows and got
No.
through. We took it to the Giants as well. So what a big thing for Canada to be able to say that. They soundly, without a doubt, the best team in CONCACAF during this World Cup qualifying. And now pretty soon they will be finding out who they will be playing, and they're going to be a tough matchup for anybody that they come across. I mean, that front four is, you could put that up there with front fours
Yeah.
in all the world right now.
I mean, we'll see the groups on Friday, but if you want to go ahead and maybe go on, place a little bit of coin here and there for them making it to the knockout stage, it wouldn't be a terrible idea.
I mean, it would honestly, like, you would have to, unless they were in the group of death,
Yeah.
like, you would, the way they have played in this qualifying and the way how talented that team is, how well coached that team is. They are not like the most sound defensive team, but they're good
Mm-hmm.
enough, and their goalkeeper's been good enough that it would be very, very disheartening not to see them at least make it to the knockout round.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, obviously a lot can happen from here to November, my goodness, but you're gonna hope, with knocking on wood, all things go well for them, that Canada's going to be that formidable team that we've seen in World Cup qualifying so far. So going from a team that is qualified to two teams that are like the U.S. fighting for that qualification. No Tata Martino here for the trip to San Pedro Sula for health reasons. So you got the assistant coach as the coach here. Really, they played the same exact team. They started the same exact 11 that played against the U.S. And very much so, it was very much, I wouldn't say a similar game, because El Salvador really didn't have, or not El Salvador, Honduras didn't really have much chances at all. They had one that Memo had to save. Don't remember exactly. In the 48th minute, where it was a long ball that Root won basically, and then Memo had to save that. But other than that, they really didn't have any big chances. Tecatito had some shots, and Hector Herrera had one. Raul Jimenez had a header, or whatever. But finally, in the 70th minute, Edson Alvarez gets off a free kick from Hector Herrera. Edson Alvarez he bullies his way through the Honduras defenders and is able to get his head to it. He gets it through the goal, and that's enough. You get the 1-0 in the 70th minute. That's what Mexico needs to get through away from home. And now you got an eliminated El Salvador, which, to be fair, they play Mexico tough, but you're in Azteca. Look,
Yeah.
I know they have not played well in Azteca at all in this qualifying, which has been weird.
Well, I mean, and
But
even then,
yeah,
the crowd in Azteca, it was an entirely different atmosphere for the U.S. Are they going to do the same thing, limiting the crowd size and everything for those reasons? Or are they going to go back to, having that packed house, full throat, this and that? Because
well, I
those same
mean,
fans haven't been
the
pleased.
NFL has really changed that stadium as well. I mean, they added
Mm-hmm.
those suites in there, and they took away the whole, that feeling of being on top of you kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of hurt the atmosphere for Azteca as well. But you would think, now, hey, we're going to talk about it here with the Costa Rica game. If there's one team, Hugo Perez, he's still American.
Yep.
If there's one guy, there's one team that's going to fight you till the end, it's El Salvador. So while there's still a chance, right, that Mexico could just go in there, blow them out, and make sure that we don't have to worry about nothing, especially for Tata, who knows his whole body, is on the line here. His chance to actually coach this team to the World Cup. This will be just like 2014. If they wind up in the repechaje, his ass is grass.
Yeah,
he's gone.
No question.
If
whatsoever.
Mexico does not get, well, they only really need to get a point, because if the U.S. beats Costa Rica, then they will go through on that point.
Right.
But I would assume, and we don't know for sure, I would assume that they may make those games be played at the same time, so you can't do that whole.
Yeah. Looking at the schedule for when they were announced, they are all of them a 9:05 p.m. Eastern kickoff.
Okay. Even though two of those games don't matter now. But either way, this is a big deal for Mexico. Yeah, it's at home, but again, it's the one team that's eliminated you don't want to play. Like Jamaica is, they're kind of, they're out of it. Honduras is playing well. I mean, they're fighting even though they're eliminated, and they don't have any of their stars. But as Salvador fights you, and nothing is more evident than what you get here with this game for Costa Rica. Now, Costa Rica goes and it takes to like the 30th minute. Joe Campbell goes and gets puts a cross in for Kendall Watson to do a bicicleta. So the old man Kendall Watson goes in there and does a bicicleta and gets scores. And then the exact minute after, it's a freak play. You can give it away. It's a freak play. Keylor Navas comes and makes the save.
Okay.
But Christian Hill had actually hit it high enough. Navas hits it, but it actually goes over his head and into the goal.
Oh, so like the momentum of the ball kind of carried it.
Yeah, kind of carried it over.
Okay,
and
I see.
Yeah, it's like one of those freak plays that you don't, and especially to happen like right after the other goal as well. And then basically at the end of the half, Joe Campbell gets his goal from a great cross, and the man that is the centerpiece of everything for Costa Rica, Joe Campbell, gets his goal. Good to see that. So 2-1 going to halftime. It would stay that way. In the 87th minute, you get Kendall Watson with a header that hits the bar. You actually have what's his name? Contreras actually score a goal, but he's called offsides. They had VAR check and everything. He was offside. But at the last kick of the ball, 94th minute, a corner comes in and it gets hit, a flick on header. It barely whiskers wide. I mean, we're talking about barely. And, that would have been a totally different thing for Costa Rica and totally different for Mexico and the U.S. because they would have qualified automatically. And then Costa Rica is basically just – because that changes it, right? Even if Panama doesn't win, they still have an opportunity at that point if they were able to beat Canada to get through into that fourth spot. So what that would have changed everything, but just barely able to survive. And now we have what we have. So get ready, folks. Tuesday is going to be interesting. It could be all done and dusted in 30 minutes, just like what we saw in various games today, or it could go down to the wire. But either way, you know what the 4 teams are going to be. It's all about the order. It's all about where they finish. You know, number 1 is pretty much going to be Canada. It's about where are the U.S., Mexico, and Costa Rica going to wind up. And it's so interesting, right, Eric? Like, obviously Canada's the new team they got out there, but it's like,
oh yeah,
wow, you thought, oh, maybe this is going to be the El Salvador moment. Maybe Jamaica is going to make it interesting. Maybe Panama is going to get back there, and it's Costa Rica again.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Right,
you know?
with that last gasp for that golden generation, still able to make it at least to one more game. If for some reason they don't pull a miracle and maybe qualify automatically, but yeah, it's going to be a fun one for those that have been watching CONCACAF for a long time. Should be an interesting night on Tuesday night. Of course, Tuesday will decide everything except for a couple of games we talked about, but it will decide CONMEBOL qualifying. It's going to decide the CAF qualifying, which got some interesting second legs there. Senegal, Egypt, with Nigeria, Ghana, right? So going to be Cameroon also in there with Algeria. I mean, some big teams, big players that, wow. So it's either Sadio Mane or Mo Salah. It's not both of them.
Nope.
One of them is going to go World Cup, one of them not. Wow, what a moment, right? We didn't get to talk about this on Thursday. Thursday. Italy is not going to the World Cup again.
No, on a stoppage time goal by, of all teams, North Macedonia.
Yeah, man.
And you're thinking, could lightning strike twice? Could they do it again and we get denied Cristiano Ronaldo? Weirder things have happened.
You would hope not. That would be very tragic.
But again, weirder things have happened.
It's not just Cristiano. Let's talk about how loaded that Portugal team. Bernardo Silva, Ruben, Joe Cancelo. Gonzalo Guedes. Like, it's just, there's so much. Bruno Fernandes. I mean, like, so many great freaking players in that team. Like, you really just don't want to see 2 stacked teams be able to go down to. I mean, it's a great story for the World Cup, right? North Macedonia making it over. Like, that's one of those teams that makes it to the World Cup and they get blasted by whatever teams they end up playing. It's like, so you really don't want to see it. And then you know that's Ronaldo's last World Cup. He might play in the Euros, but to play at 41, even though he's a tremendous physical shape, I can't imagine 41.
I mean, he's not going to be out there trying to pull a Zlatan. We'll say that.
No, I don't. Maybe, but I just don't think. I mean, yeah, Sweden won, but I wonder if Zlatan actually winds up on the World Cup team, because remember, we've seen this before where he helps them qualify. Then when it comes to World Cup, he doesn't show up and actually be on the team. So
right,
we'll see what happens on that end. But he is more accepting of his role, right? He's like that for Milan. He's not about, oh, I'm Zlatan. Right, I got to start. I'm the man. Like, he understands. I'm here to help you. Yep. I'm the elder statesman. Like, I just want to see the team do something. So we'll see what happens with Sweden and who's it? Poland.
So
right,
Robert Lewandowski.
Yeah. Sweden or Robert Lewandowski, they're going to make it to the World Cup. I mean, Wales has to wait for the Scotland-Ukraine. Gareth Bale coming out of nowhere with some amazing feats there. I mean, again, we talked about CONMEBOL. It's Peru. Uruguay was able to get a win over Peru, so they were qualified. Ecuador is also, along with Brazil and Argentina. So it's all down to Peru, Chile, and Colombia. One of the 3 are going to make it in. Colombia has the easiest route. All they have to do is beat Venezuela, who, I know that's a rivalry game, and as a Venezuelan, I would like to see it. And for my dear friend, I really hope Peru can make it into the repechaje against. I mean, I want Peru to go through, but I'd hate to not see the Socceroos at least make it to that playoff,
Yeah, and given with what's going on with the Socceroos versus in Group A and Asian qualifying, you definitely think the Socceroos would be favored.
Yeah, well, we'll be able to get closer to all of that on Tuesday, and then remember on Friday. So we'll be back on Tuesday to talk about the U.S. Costa Rica, and then of course talk about everything else that happened.
I double checked the schedule. Wednesday.
Oh, it's Wednesday. That's right. Wednesday.
Yep.
That's right. Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
So Wednesday we'll be back, and then 2 days from there at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific, and then wherever you are, day from that, the World Cup draw is going to be happening. I have to work right after that's over, basically, so we can't do like a show right after it's over, but let's see what happens. Maybe
Definitely.
be able to do something that Friday night into Saturday morning to talk about that, because that's definitely going to be you're going to know who are the U.S. playing, who's Canada playing, who's Mexico, who's Mexico playing, and whoever else, so you're going to want to know where it's going to be fun to break all that down. What the early predictions, all that. So yeah, that's going to be a fun time. So we'll be back Wednesday night. That will be a really late one because I get off at 11 o'clock Eastern. So that'll be like a 1 a.m. ish thing.
Yeah, and that's actually going to be perfect timing because, again, all of the games for CONCACAF, 9:05 p.m. Eastern kickoffs. So by 11:15, we'll know.
We're going to know. Nervy moments for me at work to be sitting there kind of watching what's going on underneath the table while nobody can see it. So until then, hope everybody it's only a little, you don't have to stress out like 5 years ago. It's way less of a burden. So let's get ready for Wednesday. Tuesday and Wednesday. You get some big moments on Tuesday as well. And then we'll see what happens for that World Cup draw. So hope you enjoyed what you heard or watched here. I'm glad to be back talking soccer again. We're still got to figure out what we're going to do once we're done with World Cup stuff, because after Friday, we're back to the clubs and everything else. But until then, we'll be back on Wednesday night, Thursday morning for you. Make sure you either subscribe, like, and everything else to the WTM Network channel on YouTube. Go follow us on Twitter at Squid Sportshead, at WTM Sean. Go subscribe to the WTM Network channel on all the podcast services. We are on pretty much everything that there possibly is. If we're not, let us know. And you can also just subscribe to Soccer at the Max if you only want soccer content. If you want to hear Eric's voice on the bazillions of shows that he has, you can go subscribe to Point of Viewer or the BWSR, the
Point of View, BWSR, Life is Like a Game Show, League to the Max, or whatever.
Yeah. It's Broadhurst and Watkins Sports Report if you want the whole shebang there. Of course, we got the video games to the Max. We'll be back on Monday, Tuesday. So if you want to hear me again, I'll be back pretty quick here. So all right, until next time. See you later, everybody.
Peace.